Welcome, students. In this video, we are going to cover how to create the toolpath for the base of your cribbage board. And I'm not starting off on our classroom page. I'm starting off on our proficiency table page because I wanted to point out that as we work through this video, you are going to use software to set up solid models in the CAM programming environment. You will create toolpaths needed to efficiently produce the desired finished product using the CAM software. That's Inventor. And you will simulate toolpaths using the CAM software. So once again, we'll do that in CAM. We'll take care of those other two criteria in some future videos. So work along with me as we meet those three standards. I'm going to start off on the classwork page. You'll see your assignment probably in a different place, but this creating the toolpaths base has got a binary file in it, along with this video that you're watching. So if you haven't already, we're going to click on that binary file and download it. And it says no preview available here because Inventor and Google don't play nice together. So Google's not sure what that file is. So we've just got to go ahead and download it. And you'll see it shows up in your tray down here. It'll say cribbage board, period, IPT. That IPT stands for iPart, which is a file that our Inventor software can open. So once you see it in your download tray, go ahead and double click it. And our computer knows it's an Inventor file, so it'll open up. Inventor is a big program. This may take a few moments, so just be patient. And just continue to be patient as you wait for it to load. Now, if this is your first time loading Inventor, yours may not default to this page. It may ask you to activate your license. It may even bring you to a page where it gives you the option to start learning or start working. You're going to want to click on Start Working. So I want to show you just a couple other things. Once you've loaded your program in Inventor, I want you to check and make sure that you've got the CAM tab up here. It should just default to this and open up to the CAM tab. If you don't have the CAM tab, or maybe you can't open this Inventor file at all, that's a good clue to you that you need to go to the Software Center and download Inventor if the file won't open at all, or if you don't have your CAM tab, download the Inventor CAM file. We did that in class about a month ago. I believe everybody's got it, but there is a chance somebody slipped through the cracks. So now that we've got that taken care of, we can go ahead and we're going to create the toolpath for this cribbage board. I've already got a toolpath that's going to drill all these tiny little holes in here for you. It's optimized to do that very quickly and efficiently. So you're going to create a toolpath today that drills these two big holes where the cribbage board top will connect to the base. You're going to create a toolpath that creates these two pockets. And then finally, we're going to create a toolpath that goes around the outside edge and cuts this project out. But before we can do any of that, we need to flash back to our standard here. All right, we need to use the software to set up, import, align, and position a solid model in the CAM programming environment. So to do that, we're going to click on this setup folder here. And then the setup is asking us where do we want our 0, 0, 0, our X, Y, and Z axes to all intersect. Right now it looks like it's in the middle on the top surface of our project. That's not where we want it. We want to pick a model point. So I'm going to come over here where it says origin stock box point, and I'm going to change it to model box point. And then I'm going to come to this view cube up here, and I'm going to click on the bottom corner. I'm using a mouse, so I'm taking the roller ball on my mouse and zooming in now. And I want the origin. Oops, and it's not letting me select anything because I probably already clicked this box. I got to come over here and select the white arrow. Nope. Oh, it's being difficult. All right, I'm going to try this again. Model box point. I want my origin to be right here. There we go. Let me click on the very lower left-hand corner. All right, so hopefully you have better luck with that than I do. I think I was trying to click just a little too high. So we can confirm this is set up the way we want. The Y should be going up and down. The X should be left to right. And if we're looking at this square view, the Z axes, the up and down axes, will just show up as a little box. So that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. All right, and we're going to do something very important before we move on to the next standard. We're going to save this file. So let's come up to the File tab. Right, and then we're going to go Save As. Right now, this is in your download file. So doing this Save As is going to allow us to make a copy and move it elsewhere. Right, I would recommend, backing everything up to something off of your computer. I've got my Google Drive installed on my computer, so I'm going to go to Google Drive. I'm going to go to My Drive, and I created a folder already. You can see I've got quite a few folders. I got one called Woods 2021. So if you click this button right here, you can create a new folder. I don't want to create a new folder. I'm just going to go to that Woods 2021. And I'm going to save this as the cribbage board base. I'm going to delete this part that says Woods 1 2021 on my file. All right, and I'd like you to just put your initials at the end of this file so we know this one's yours. All right, so now I've got that saved. Anytime I hit this disk up here now, it'll just automatically save that to my Google file drive. So now we're going to generate or create some tool paths. So on the CAM tab, I am going to come to 2D milling. I'm going to click this drop down. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to make a 2D pocket, which it looks like in 2021. It's right up here. I didn't even need to click that drop down. So we're going to say 2D pocket. Right? Over here on your model tab, if you don't have a model tab, it happens sometimes where students will close their model tab down. If your screen looks like this, you can go to View, User Interface, and on this bar, we want to check our model browser. And so if you don't have a model bar over here, you can add it. And then since I closed mine down, I had to hit the plus and put my CAM on there. So anyhow, if it disappears, that's how to find it. That happens quite often to students. So I'm going to go click on 2D Pocket now. All right, and the first thing it asks me is what tool do I want to use? So I'm going to click here where it says Tool on my tab. Then I'm going to come over to this sidebar and I'm going to go Tool by Type. I'll click on Flat Mill and it gives me a lot of flat mill options here. Up top in this text contained box, I'm going to type in a half because I want a 1/2 inch flat mill. And then I'll just pick the one at the top. And so we're going to select that. And now you can see I've got this little simulated picture of a cutting tool on my screen. Yeah, my spindle speeds are already dialed in here. I did notice the first time I practiced with this 2021 program, I didn't have them all. So if you don't have spindle speeds or cutting feeds, if you notice some of your boxes over here are blank, go ahead, pause my video and fill in your numbers so they match. So assuming the numbers match, now we're going to come up to this second tab here. This is our geometry tab, and this is where we're going to pick out what we want to actually have the router cut. So again, I'm using my mouse and the roller ball. I'm going to zoom in and I want to click on the bottom surface of these two pockets on my project. So should you select the wrong ones, you can always hit this X button here. This will clear your selection, and you can go back to pocket selection and pick them again. We're going to skip over the Heights tab and go to the fourth tab up top here, the Passes tab. And I am going to scroll down on my Passes tab. I'm going to uncheck Stock to Leave because I want it to go right tight to the lines that I modeled. But I am going to check multiple depths because I don't want to cut this 1/2 inch deep pocket in one pass. So right here where it says maximum roughing step down, it's set to a very small number because this thing's we're cutting in metal right now. So I'm going to change that very small number to 1/4 inch or 0.25. And then I'm going to come down below where it says use even step downs. And what this will do is if my pocket's not multiple of 0.25, maybe it's 0.6 inches deep, it will divide that 0.6 by 3, and it'll do 3 even passes for me instead of 2 at a quarter inch and 1 at a tenth. So the computer's doing some math here. We're trying to leverage our computing power. All the other ones look good, so I'm going to come to my final tab up top here, the linking tab. I'm going to turn off my lead in. I'm going to turn off my lead out. And then I'm going to come down to the ramp section, and I don't want a helix. I'm going to do my drop down and just change this to a plunge ramp, which means the router is going to drop straight in and start cutting those pockets. So let's go ahead and click OK. And if I click on the plus on my model bar after my computer thinks for a second, you can see that I've got a flat end mill and I've got a file size down here. So this file size, if I click on it, is the toolpath that we've just created. So all those little blue lines that just showed up on my screen are where the center of the router bit is going to go around and cut out those 2 pockets. So let's go ahead if you're at this point, and we'll click Save. Now we're going to use the drilling tool up here. You can see if we look up top where the tool selection is, I've already got a 1/2 inch flat end mill. We're going to use the same router bit to cut all this out. So we don't have to do anything on the tool tab. I'm going to go to the geometry tab next, and I'm going to select the holes I want to drill by their hole face. So I'm going to click on this large hole at the top, this large hole at the bottom, and I've got my 2 holes picked. I'm going to skip over the heights tab, and I'll go to the cycle tab and just make sure that rapid drilling out is the selection from this large drop down menu. So again, we'll go ahead and click OK once we've done that. And now on my cam tab, I can see I've got a 2D pocket operation and I've got a rapid out drilling operation. Again, if I come down here and click on the file size under drilling out, it'll put some yellow and blue lines on my screen to show me where it's going to drill at. Right? So I've done those 2 operations. I'm going to click the Save button. Right, and the last thing we need to set up is this button here, which is our 2D contour. This is where we're going to cut out around the outside edge of the cribbage board. So we'll go ahead and click the 2D contour. Again, it starts off on this tool tab. My tool is already selected as a 1/2 inch flat end mill. And I don't have some speeds filled in here. So we're going to go through and fill those in. Anywhere it says speed, we're going to put 21,000 for our RPM. That's how fast the router bit spins. And anywhere it says feed rate, we're going to put 75, which is 75 inches per minute. So for my lead in, my lead out, 75 inches per minute. It's a pretty good speed for cutting in wood with our 1/2 inch router bit. I'm not sure why Inventor doesn't automatically fill those in. I will have to do some more research, and maybe we can do this more efficiently in a future video. So our tool tab is done. We're going to click on geometry. And again, it wants us to select a contour here with this orange arrow. So I'm going to use the roller ball on my mouse, and I'm going to zoom in on the bottom surface of my cribbage board, and I'll just pick that circle that makes up the perimeter. Now I'm going to change the view to a front view here. I'm going to click on the tabs section. And I want to leave some tabs on here because we're going to screw this project onto the router table by these 4 corners. Okay, as the router is cutting around here and it starts breaking through, I want to leave a couple of tabs so that there's some real skinny pieces of wood attaching the finished product to these pieces of scrap, which in turn will hold it down to the table. And so it puts a bunch of tabs on here by default. I think if we change this to about 8 or 9 inches, let's try 9 inches. There we go. If we change it to 9 inches, it'll put 1 tab onto each piece of scrap wood. And now we're going to come to the passes tab, and this should seem kind of familiar because we did it with our 2D pocket. I'm going to go to multiple depths, and I'm going to change my maximum roughing step down to 0.25. I'm going to scroll down and say use even step downs. And then we're going to go to our linking. We'll turn off our lead in and lead out. And if we go to ramp for a 2D contour, we don't need a ramp. We can uncheck that if you were working with me. So let's go ahead and we'll click OK one more time. You can see the 2D contour now shows up on my model bar. If I zoom in, I've got some blue lines around here, so that's looking good. All right, we're going to click Save. All right, and then I'm going to flash back to our standards one more time. You have just created some toolpaths using efficiency to produce the desired final product using the CAM software. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to simulate our toolpath using the CAM software. So let's go back to Inventor. We're going to click the Simulate button. I've got my mouse, so I'm going to use the roller ball to zoom out. You could go over here to the nav bar and hit Zoom All. That would zoom you out as well. And so we want to be able to see our whole product before we simulate it. Then I'm going to check this stock box here. That'll turn my board green, so that kind of represents the flat board we're going to start with. And when I hit the play button here, it is going to simulate some of that cutting. Now, mine's just going around the outside edge here. I'm going to hit close. If yours is doing the same thing, I forgot one important step. We should click on Setup 1 so we see that whole process. So I've got Setup 1 highlighted. I'm going to go Simulate, Stock, and I'll hit Play. And now I can see it's cutting out that pocket first. It's going to the next pocket. It's drilling the holes. It's cutting around the outside edge. And so this is the same process the router is going to go through in a few minutes. And if I change to a front view, I can see in this dark area here where it's going to leave those tabs to connect our meat from our scrap to our final product. So that looks good. I'm happy with what I see. I'm going to click the Save button one more time. And if it looked like something was missing, maybe it didn't do one of those 3 steps, you may need to go back and watch the section of the video where I made the 2D pocket, set up the drill, or did my 2D contour. Right? If everything looks good, let's save this and we will pick it up in a future video.